All right, so welcome back. So if you've been following this series, we've already registered a company, we've incorporated it. So for the rest of the series, we're gonna assume this is an incorporated company, D's Nuts Incorporated. So now you set up the business, you're ready to start making some sales, getting some cash, and getting paid. But there's something we need to deal with before we can do all of that, and that's sales tax. So GST and PST. This video, someone actually told me not to make. They said, hey,
have you thought about making videos?
But don't go on there and be like, GST, PST, 30,000, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I agree, this subject can be a little bit dry. I'll try to make it as fun as possible. If you're a business owner and you are collecting money, you're making sales, you need to be aware of your GST and PST obligations. All right, so let's get to it. So do you actually need to collect GST and PST on all of your sales? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So let's say in BC we have GST and PST, so GST 5%, PST 7%. Ontario has HST, which is just a flat 13%. It combines both of them, right? So let's say D's Nuts Incorporated, we're based in BC, but we'll charge GST and PST based on the province that our clients are in. So if our clients are in BC, yes, that's correct. We'll charge them the 5% and the 7%. If our clients are in Ontario, we charge them HST and the 13%. And now, to make it even more confusing, if we have international clients, we do not charge them any GST or PST. That is exempt. Okay, now hold up. Before you start collecting and charging GST, you actually need to register for GST as well. So when we incorporated the company, if you did it like we did, then you would have got an email from BC Corporate Online with a 9-digit business number. Now, that business number is your corporate business number, but that is not your GST number. So to actually register for GST, you need to either call CRA or you need to go online and do a GST registration with CRA. When do you need to register for GST? So you actually don't need to do this right away. You can wait until you hit 30,000 in total annual revenue. So this is revenue on a 12-month period, not just January to December, but any consecutive 12 months. So once you hit 30,000, it becomes mandatory to register for GST. Now, you can voluntarily register for GST prior to this, and you might be wondering, why would I want to do something like that? Well, for example, let's say you're starting a restaurant, you have high costs to set up, so you've got equipment you need to buy, you've got leasehold improvements to set up your restaurant, you'll actually get back that GST you spend on expenses. So that might sound a little bit complicated, but let me run you through an example of something very basic and how a GST filing and a GST calculation and GST owing works, right? So let's say this is, D's Nuts Incorporated, and we billed our clients $100,000 for the year. So we would have had to charge 5% GST on all of our sales, right? So we've collected $5,000 in GST. At the same time, we spent $20,000 on subcontractors, which we paid 5% GST as well. So we ended up paying $1,000 in GST. So now when we go and file our GST filing at the end of the year, it's the 5,000 we collected minus the 1,000 we paid, and that's our GST filing. We owe 4,000 in GST, not the 5,000 we collected. So at the end of the year, we only need to pay 4,000 in GST, not the 5,000. If we had more expenses and we paid more GST, that would bring that number down even lower. So another reason why we keep track of all your expenses, because you will get that GST back. I just want to make a note, but not go too into depth with it. There are things that are GST exempt. So like groceries and medicine, they do not have GST if you're selling those. Same thing with PST. If you remember when we were kids, under 14, I think it was, you buy clothing and that's PST exempt. So I'm not going to go through all these one by one, but I'll share a link below for both GST and PST. It has a detailed listing of things that are exempt and things that you would need to collect GST on. If the data is not there for your specific business, you can always call CRA as well. You call the general line and ask for a GST ruling, give them a breakdown of your business, kind of service or product you're providing, and they'll tell you right there on the phone if you need to be collecting GST or not. All right, so now that you're aware of your GST, PST obligations and how to collect and when to collect, It's finally time you can make a sale and start getting paid. So when you're gonna invoice a client, you can create an invoice in Word, Excel, but I highly recommend you start off with an accounting software. We here at Rocket Accounting, we use something called Xero. It's just like the other apps, but we prefer it because of its user-friendly interface. Now, other apps are great as well. The reason we recommend Xero is we're not sponsored by them, by the way. We're in this software 6 to 8 hours a day. It just makes our life so much easier. And when our clients are using it as well, everything's in there. It just takes away so much unnecessary data entry. So for example, when you do your invoicing in Xero, you'll have all your invoices there. When you reconcile your bank, you can check which invoices have been paid, which have not been paid, which is great to follow up on accounts receivable. And then when you do your corporate tax return at the end of the year, everything's kind of matched up. It's all there for you. Just makes the work a lot less for us and you as well. Right? You can start a 30-day trial with Xero. Go in there, play around with the invoice settings, add your logo. You can also link your Stripe account so you're starting to get paid right away. The Stripe link can actually be on your invoice too. So when you send out that invoice, clients can just click on that link right there and send the payment to you. Lastly, since I did start speaking about accounts receivable, just a friendly tip to make sure if you're in the service business that, when you're solopreneur, it's fine. You do the work and then you send the invoice to the client later and, hopefully they pay. Once you start growing and you have, recurring expenses that you need to pay for, it's a wise idea to get a retainer or deposit. So just so your accounts receivable doesn't grow into a huge large number and you're having a hard time and wasting time, following up and trying to get paid. So with all that knowledge, you're ready to make some sales, go out there and get paid. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.